Hello and welcome to this Forex Preview at xm.com. I'm Maria Bashardis, and joining me is Senior Investment Analyst Rafi Boyajan. We'll be discussing the Bank of England's upcoming policy meeting. So Rafi, although some of the major central banks are likely to cut rates this week, the Bank of England has not yet joined its peers in flagging any policy easing. What should we expect from the Bank of England on Thursday when it announces its latest policy decision?
So that is absolutely right. The Bank of England has so far resisted in joining the likes of the Federal Reserve and the ECB in signaling a rate cut, and in fact they've maintained their tightening bias. Recent remarks though from Governor Mark Carney and other policymakers have been somewhat more dovish. They've been highlighting the growing downside risks, not just from Brexit but also from the slowing global economy. So it's possible we might get a more neutral tone on Thursday, but as far as a rate cut is concerned, I think that's pretty much unlikely, at least for the time being.
I see. And over the past week, we've seen the risk of a no-deal Brexit rise sharply. How is the bank expected to respond to this? Or is it still going with the assumption that there will be a smooth Brexit?
They have been maintaining up until now that assumption. The baseline scenario is that there's going to be a smooth Brexit. It would be pretty difficult for the bank to get rid of that baseline scenario and base its forecasts on the assumption of a disorderly Brexit, even though we're seeing increasing chances of that following Boris Johnson becoming Prime Minister, because doing so would mean downgrading their forecast significantly, and that would be like telling the public that a no-deal Brexit scenario would be bad for the British economy, and that could get them into trouble politically. So the bank will have a difficult role to play now in terms of its communication, in terms of trying to somehow find a way to incorporate the growing risks of a no-deal Brexit into its forecasts without actually saying that no-deal Brexit will be bad for the UK.
Right. And how about the impact in the currency markets? We've seen the pound come under intense pressure this week. Can we expect any support for the pound by the Bank of England decision on Thursday?
Well, if the bank isn't perhaps quite as dovish as what the markets are currently anticipating, which of course they're not expecting a big dovish shift, but even if you don't even get that, that could potentially provide some temporary support for the pound. On the other hand, if the Bank of England surprises by sounding much more cautious, much more dovish than what investors are anticipating, then that would only fuel the pound's recent decline. But in the bigger picture, the only factor that could potentially halt sterling's decline is an indication from the UK and the EU that they're ready to hold fresh talks on the withdrawal agreement.
Rafi, thanks so much for joining me, and thanks for watching at xm.com.